Om Ajnanatmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahanaya Gunatan Vidam Tam Sajivam साधुवैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So this nectar of instruction, I hope I am audible and there are no glitches.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So this next instruction starts with first verse, which is the basic of all and which is the most, if we see the difficult of all things. So the first verse says, Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udarupastha vegam etan vegan yo vishishta dhira sarvam apiman prithvim cha sishyat. So it says, a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demand, and the actions of anger, and the urges of tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So, in general thing, people will say that we want to conquer the world. But here it starts with internal control. And the first thing is to tolerate the urge to speak. So we like to speak a lot, and therefore the sober person who can tolerate speak, and once the tongue is controlled you can speak, then the mind will be controlled, and as soon as the mind is controlled the anger is controlled. And similarly, when we eat from the mouth, that is tongue, that is controlled, then the belly is controlled, and then because the tongue and belly is controlled, the genitals are controlled. So this way they are all in the one line, and this is the way to make disciples. To make disciples means to that the person can preach them to the whole world, and the whole world will listen. Till that time, even if somebody is doing some very big things also, it will not sustain in the long run. So here, uh, in this purport, yeah, Parishit Maharaj is asking question that why do people go atonement if they cannot control senses? So is a given example of thief. The thief knows he will be punished if he does some thievery. He sees also people getting caught, and still he then gets arrested for thievery. So why does people undergo atonement if they cannot control their senses? So he says the one who is less intense gather experience by seeing. This is very important thing. And one who is more intense gather experience by hearing. So if we can understand only by hearing that thing is wrong, then a person is more advanced. But if doesn't understand by hearing, then he gains intelligence by seeing that others are doing. He saw, and last is to himself undergo. That is the last thing. And a less intelligent person may have first to be arrested and punished for stealing and to learn stop stealing. To the last important person. And the most foolish person is one who have experienced both hearing and seeing and even be punished, but still he continues to steal. So this is the last person. So these are four different types of person. One who understands by hearing, second understands by seeing, third understands by going through it, and fourth never understands. So these are four types of person. And therefore, here is given that if punishment in jail is considered atonement, what is the benefit of such atonement? Because after that also, people do the same things again and again and again. So he's comparing here with elephant bathing. So you know, elephant baths very nicely. He takes a long bath, but after coming from bath, what happens is he puts dirt all over his body. Then what is the value of his bathing? Because after bathing, he is putting all the dirt. So similarly, many practitioners right now chant Hare Krishna mantra at the same time commit forbidden acts. To conduct like in some of the places. So Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not just ISKCON, it's all over Gaudiya. Plus before that also, so many people chant. So what used to happen is one hand they will eat some non for forbidden items that we should not be eaten, and the other hand they will chant Hare Krishna, and they will say that when we chant Hare Krishna, this sin of not eating something which are forbidden will be nullified. So this sin will be gone off. So that is not a good thing. So we should not commit sinful act on the strength of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. That is forbidden. Then it will be considered as offense. If somebody commits some things without knowing, then it is okay. But if one knows and still does, then it's offense, and one will not progress in spiritual life. So this is what, and then the example is given of Christians who go to church. So they do bad acts whole week, and on the Sunday they will go to church and confess their sins. That's thinking that things by giving some money, confessing their sins, thinking that this will be nullified, but it doesn't happen. And therefore, this kind of practical attainment is condemned by Parikshit Maharaj as most entertainment of his time. So, and he also confirmed that this is not correct, and therefore, the real prashyatam is the awakening of a dormant Krishna consciousness. So, when our dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened, then one can do real prashit. And further, one must control his speaking power, because everyone has power to speak, and therefore one should control that, and one should not talk anything or nonsense. So if we speak some prajalpa and all now, what will happen is our mind will be agitated. And here example given is of frog. So frog is doing some nonsense, but what happens because of that? The snake comes to know that the ear is frog, and he comes and eats the frog. So similarly, we are also inviting death by talking nonsense, because our time is getting wasted. And therefore, he's saying that talking of materialistic person, impulsive Mayavadis can be compared to croaking of hogs, because not speaking good, therefore not good. And then further, he's saying that if you want to control the speech, it can be controlled only by positive process of Krishna Katha, that is engaging the speaking process in glorifying the Supreme Lord Krishna. And tongue can thus glorify name, form, qualities, and passion of the Lord. So this can be done. So this is helpful. And then he says about the mind, Krishna Surya Samaya, Maya hai Andhakar, Yaha Krishna Taha nahi, Mayara Adhikar. So Krishna is like sun and Maya is like darkness. If sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Similarly, Krishna is present in the mind, there is no possibility of mind being agitated by Maya's influence. So how can mind be controlled? If Krishna is sitting in the mind, then it can be controlled. But we should not create that vacuum, because vacuum will not remain. So we should always think of Krishna and serve Krishna's best willing. And how anger is controlled? So anger cannot be controlled altogether, but anger can be used. So we can become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or his devotees of the Lord. So like we example give of Hanuman. So Hanuman, how did he use the anger? He then burned the Lanka. In this way, he uses anger. So one should not use anger for himself. One should be humbler than the grass, taller than the tree. But one can be angry for others. If others are being tortured, if others are being blasphemed, then one can be angry. That how can you talk about this? So that time one should not hear. But if one hears blasphemy of himself, then one should tolerate. For that, he should be humble, but not for others. And this way, this example is given. And as far as urges of tongue, so tongue wants to eat. So what we should eat? Krishna prasadam. So in this way, tongue can be controlled. And similarly, if one needs prasadam, then his belly is controlled. And if one takes prasadam at scheduled time, then one should not eat at restaurants and shops. So one should not at these places to satisfy the whims of tongue or belly. So this should not be done. And urges of genitals, sexual percent control when not used. That is, it should be used to beget a Krishna conscious child. Otherwise, they should not be used. So this is the main thing given, that it should not be otherwise used. And therefore, marriage should be not for satisfaction of the genitals, but for the begetting of Krishna conscious children. And then that they should be trained. So mother and father, they are responsible for the child, that the child becomes Krishna conscious. That is their responsibility. Otherwise, they should not beget child. That is the uh, ultimate or the highest rule, but not many follow nowadays. And this way, one can become qualified to be bona fide spiritual master. So here also example again Bhagavatam. Those words which did not describe the glories of Lord uh, who can alone certify the atmosphere of the holiness are considered sufficiently to be unto the place of pilgrimage for crows. Since all perfect persons are inhabitants of transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. So, and the next sloka is about the people who glorify the Lord. And even if the book is not properly composed, if there is no proper literature, still, if one glorifies the Lord in his own word, still it is very much good. So this is the such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So the conclusion is that only when we talk about devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can we refrain from useless nonsensical talk. We should always endeavor to use our speaking power solely for this purpose of realizing Krishna consciousness. So this is the thing. So another all example and everything is given. This is the elaborate summary, which one can read on his own time. So now verse number 2. So here 6 things are given which destroys bhakti, which is not good for one who is practicing bhakti. So what are these? Let us see. Atyahara prayasascha pajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyam cha shadbir bhakti vinashyati. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of scriptures for and working independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with worldly mindly persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements. So, one important thing in all these 6 points is it takes away our time, which we can use for spiritual activities, and therefore these are very harmful. These 6 things are very, very harmful. So, a human life is meant for plain living and high thinking, and therefore, one should live very simple, but one should think very high that he wants to go back to Godhead. And so there are 3 Shaktis. The first is called Antaranga Shakti or internal. The second is Tatastha Shakti or marginal. And the third is Bahari Shakti or external potency. So we have discussed this, that there are 3 energies of the Lord. So Antaranga Shakti is internal energy or internal potency, which is in spiritual world. Tatastha Shakti means the Jiva Shakti, we are called as Tatastha Shakti. And Bahindra Shakti is this Maya or external energy or this material world in which we are living at present. So these 3 are the main energies of Krishna. And living entity are situated in between both the internal and external energy. That's what Tatastha. Tata means if you see wherever there is a river, so what happens? There is a river bank. So in that river bank, if you go now, there is some place where the waves will bring the water and then will go back, come and go. So that is a place which is we do not know whether it is land or water. This is called Tata. This is very fine line. So that we will see that within some time that part will be in water. After some point, it will be on land. So that part is called Tata Shakti. So Jiva is called Tatastha because it can be sometimes material world, at the same time it can go back to spiritual world also. So it can be present in both the places. So Antaranga Shakti or the people who are in Antaranga Shakti or devotees who are Antaranga Shakti, they'll always stay in spiritual world. And people who are in Balinga Shakti will stay in or in this external potency, or the Maya will be there in material world. But Tatastha Shakti or Jiva can be at both the places, and therefore they are called Tatastha Shakti. So is that, and further it is given that, O son of Pritha, those who are not living with the great soul under my protection, divine energy, they are fully engaged devotionally because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the great souls are under protection of Krishna, and they are called Mahatmana, and they are always looking after the service of the Lord. So here uh, it is written that some ism like nationalism, humanitarianism, altruism was not good, because it all involves one's own way of thinking. One puts himself in center and not Lord in center, and therefore um, this is not useful. So further, there are three types of klesha, which we see: Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Adhyatmika. So this kleshas are being explained that suffering caused by demigods are called Adi Devika. Like we have this summer, winter, earthquakes, droughts, storms. These are all beyond our control. They are controlled by the demigods. And Adi Bhaukika is suffering caused by other living entities. Like we have our husband, wife, parents, children, other living entities who trouble us many times. Therefore, they are called Adi Bhautika. And Adi Atami is suffering given by our own body and mind. Like sometimes we are sick, we get fever sometimes our tooth pain, and we have so much pain. So this is given by our own body. So these three kinds of suffering everybody has go through. And there are other four kinds of suffering. That is birth, old age, disease, and death. So this everyone has to go. This seven kinds of suffering everyone has to go. So when the child is taking birth, he goes through so much pain. Then again, when there is some disease, he goes to pain. And again, at old age, we see people go to pain, and at death, one is always in pain. So these are the seven condition or seven price of pain which one has to undergo. And now, further it is described that how one should not do atyahara. Atyahara means one should not collect more than necessary. Like everyone requires some possession, food, grains, clothing, and anything. But one should not collect more than necessary for the actual basic needs. If this principle is followed, there will be no difficulty in maintaining the body. So, see, every living entity except humans will not eat more than, or will not collect more than necessary. If you see the uh, uh, this birds and all, so they will eat what they can feed stomach. They will not store for so many days. If you see all of them, if you see the ants also, they will store what is needed for some days. But if see, if a rice or bag is given public place, birds will come and eat a few grains and go away. Human being, what will do? He will take a whole bag. So he will eat all his stomach and can keep rest in storage. So this is collecting more than necessary. Of course, as Grahasthas, they should have something which is collection, but not so much. Otherwise, what will happen? The prices of the things will go up, and so many people will also starve because not so much quantity is available. So according to Shiksha, this collection of more than necessary atyahar is prohibited. Now the entire world is suffering because of it. So collecting and eating more than necessary is called prayas, or let's say endeavor. So everyone can get what he needs, but nobody can satisfy one's greed. So it cannot be given. So nobody has to leave from one place to another to earn a livelihood. So one can produce grains locally and get milk from cows. So this can solve all economic problems. And man is given higher intelligence for what? To cultivate Krishna consciousness. But the problem is, fortunately, one does not do that. And what he does is he uses for all other things. So by God's arrangement, there is sufficient scope for the production of milk and grains for human beings all over the world. But instead of using the high intelligence to cultivate God consciousness, so-called intelligent men misuse the intelligence to produce many unnecessary and unwanted things. Thus, factories, slaughterhouses, brothels, and liquor shops are open. If the people are advised not to collect many goods, eat too much, or work unnecessarily to possess artificial amenities, they think they are being advised to return to primitive way of life. Generally, people do not accept plain living and high thinking. This is unfortunate position. So all these things, these factories nowadays which are opening, these slaughterhouses, this liquor, this tobacco, and this planting of so many cash crops and so many things actually unnecessary. And because of this, what is happening is the water level is going down, the lands are becoming barren, and so many things are happening. So many people's life are being wasted. We have heard so many cases where people are doing suicide because of getting some bad habits like liquor and all. They have lost all the wealth of the family, and therefore this very unfortunate position in which people are there. So human life is meant for God realization, and therefore one should take instruction from higher authorities, and this is written. So it is written, all occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. So dharma should not be used for artha. Dharma should be done so that one gets liberated from this material life. So one should not do it for material gain. So this is what is required. So further, uh, other impediments, prajalpa, unnecessary talking. So when we mix with few friends, we immediately begins unnecessary talking. So this is also not required, because unnecessary talking means it will waste our time, and therefore in today's time people waste their time by playing cards, fishing, watching television, debate about useless socio-political schemes, and all these other frivolous activities are included in prajalpa. Entire person interested in krishna consciousness should not take part in such activities. So one should not take part actively in such activities. One can be aware of what is happening, but one should not go in depth of doing all these things. Otherwise, one's time will be wasted, and once time is gone, it will never come back. And therefore, one should not waste time like this. And Jana Sangha is deciding, associating person not in Krishna conscious. So one should strictly avoid such association. See, when we work in our office job, so that is required, but that doesn't mean that we are associating. We are just working with together. But after that, we should not unnecessarily associate with person who are not Krishna consciousness. So we should only associate with person who are Krishna conscious, so that our devotion goes on. So Srila Narottam Das Thakur has therefore advised us to live only in the situation of Krishna conscious devotees. Bhakta Sanivas. One should always engage in the service of the Lord in the association of the Lord's devotees. Association with those engaged in a similar line of business is very conducive to advancement in that business. And therefore, we see materialistic person also have so many forums, like it is said that Asian Stock Exchange, Chamber of Commerce, and so many business where they meet together and enhance their business. Similarly, devotees meet to enhance their Krishna consciousness. And here, Prabhupada has given an example of ISKCON, how ISKCON is there so that people get opportunity to speak about Krishna consciousness. So again, here, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he's written another commentary on how we should not do too much endeavor. And further, this niyama grama is explained. So one is niyama agraha and one is niyama agraha. So there is a difference between a and a. See, if you see niyama, here it is niyama agraha. What does it mean is accepting some of the spiritual rules and regulations for the immediate benefit. So that is not required. So, and neglecting the rules and regulations of shastras which are meant for spiritual development. It is called niyama agraha. So one should not practice rules and regulation simply to show, but one should practice rules and regulation so that one can progress in the devotional service. So agraha means, the word agraha means eagerness to accept, and word agraha means failure to accept. So the niyama agraha has twofold meaning that is understood according to a particular commission of words. Those interested in Krishna consciousness should not be eager to accept rules and regulations for economic advancement, yet they should very faithfully accept spiritual rules and regulations for the advancement of Krishna consciousness. And therefore, they should also follow four regulative principles. And one should also avoid association with Mayavadis who simply blaspheme Vaishnava devotees, Bhukti Kamis who are interested in material happiness, Mukti Kamis who desire liberation by merging the existence of formless absolute Brahman, and Siddhi Kamis who desire perfection of mystic yoga practice are classified atyaharis. To associate with such person is not at all desirable. See why it is not desirable? Because if we associate with this person's now, will not go back to Godhead. Because going back to Godhead means going to Goloka, going to Krishna, Vrindavan Dham. But if we are mukti kami, then what will happen? That we desire after mukti. So our goal will be lost, and we have limited time. So if we go after siddhis and all, our time will be wasted and will not achieve our desired goal. Therefore, this is not required for us, and this is impediment for our devotional service, and we should avoid. So then further, so here also Prabhupada says that there is a warfare there because people are doing a lot of atyahar. If people do what they want to, what they should, then there will be no atyahar. Mm. So verse number 3. So this verse speaks about 6 things which will help us to grow in our devotional service. Utsaha nishchaya dhairyat tat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte shatbir bhakti prasiddhyati. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. First is being enthusiastic. Second, enduring with confidence. Third, being patient. Fourth, acting according to regular principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. Fifth, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And sixth, following the footsteps of previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So these 6 things should be known, that if we have these 6 things, then we'll surely achieve success. Otherwise, it is not possible. So let's describe these things. So first is being enthusiastic. So this is very important verse which is given in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. Anya bilashita sunyam jnana karmadinamritam anukulyena krishna anushilam bhakti uttama. So uttama bhakti or unalloyed devotion into Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruitive karma, impersonal jnana, and all other selfish desires. So this is called uttama bhakti. So uttama bhakti is one in which we only want pure devotional service, nothing else. And therefore, we render service to Krishna in that way which is favorable to Lord. And this service should be free from any karma or jnana or other selfish desires. So we should not want anything in return of the bhakti. Sometimes we ask that I want this or this or this because I'm practicing bhakti. So this should not happen. We only want to serve Krishna. We only want to love Krishna. That is our desire, and therefore we only want to do bhakti. That's all. So bhakti is a sort of cultivation. So as soon as we say cultivation, it must refer to an activity. So it doesn't mean that one sits idly or do some things here and there, but it means that stopping all nonsense activities and engage in meaningful devotional service. So what are the different ways of doing devotional service? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Arjanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. So first is hearing. So hearing the names and glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everything starts with hearing. Whatever we do now, it starts with hearing. Whom we are hearing, what we are hearing. So if we hear with proper thinking and with from proper person, then chanting the glories will come. So from the mouth, we then chant the holy name. So this is very automatic. And after hearing and chanting, after sometimes we remember the Lord. Because first what happens, after hearing only we can speak about Lord. But after hearing for a long time, we also remember so many things. And after remembering, what happens is we start serving the Lord, that now we should serve the Lord. And that also, we serve the lotus feet of the Lord, or istadiya, different things we serve. And specifically, we worship the deity in that. That is worshipping the deity in the form, in the temples we do. And then we also offer obeisance to the Lord. And then we are acting as Lord's servant. So this is one important thing. And then making friends with the Lord, there is Sakhyam, and surrendering everything, there is Atma Nivedan. So if we see the Sanskrit verses, we see that here it is given. So Shravanam is hearing, Kirtanam is chanting, Smaram is remembering, Pada Sevanam is serving the lotus feet, Archanam is worshiping the deity, Vandanam is offering obeisance to Lord, Dasyam is acting as Lord's servant, Sakhyam is making friends with Lord, and Atma Nivedana is surrendering everything to the Lord. And we have seen the devotees who have excelled in one of these activities. So how does one get knowledge? So the process of getting knowledge is given. So tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashna sevaya upadeśāmṛta jnanam jnana sattvadarshana. Just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render some service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So very important aspects is given. So one has to approach a spiritual master. So maybe Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru, whatever it is, to learn. And second, inquire from him submissively. So that is, one should not challenge that you can say this, no. One should inquire very submissively. Oh, I am not able to understand this. What do you think? What is the meaning of this, or like this? And secondly, render service to him. So it is not just that we'll inquire and we'll get knowledge. No, second step is we should render some service. If we want to get knowledge, then inquiry is good. But after inquiry, we should serve the spiritual master. And in this way, when one is pleased by the service, what will happen is the self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. And then the knowledge will be imparted, and then one can get the knowledge. So the jnana can become vijnana only if this process is followed. Then further, it is written, Brahmanda Brahmiti Kono Bhagyavan Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti. So how does get this seed of devotion? So one is traveling the whole universe, one is traveling the whole Brahman. We see that so many people are there. So by only some fortunate soul may receive the seed of Bhakti Lata, pre-power devotional service. This is by the grace of Guru and Krishna. So if we are becoming devotees, if we are getting that seed of devotion, we are chanting daily. That is, we should understand that we have got the grace of Guru and Krishna. Otherwise, we will not be able to chant this Mahamantra, or whatever mantra one may be chanting, maybe Hare Krishna or Rama, or Ram Krishna Hare, Shri Krishna Sama, whatever mantra one chant, it is only by the grace of Guru and Krishna. Otherwise, one cannot chant the mantra. So, material world is a place for confinement, who are by nature Anandmaya. So, our concentration is such Chit and Anand, but we are confined in this material world and we want to get freedom, but we do not know the process. And therefore, what happens is one gets the born by its transmission process, birth after birth. So one wants to be, one wants to have ananda, but within this material body. So this body cannot give ananda. One has to transcend it. So when by good fortune one comes in contact with pure devotee and hears from it patiently, one begins to follow the devotional service. And such opportunity is offered to a person who is sincere. So sometimes in our life, we may have asked Lord that please tell me where to go. I want to know spiritual things. I want to have a guru. And that is the time when Krishna hears us and then he provides us with some person. So unless one is sincere, one will not get a guru. And therefore, this is very important thing, that sometime in our past life, we have prayed to Lord that please help us. And therefore, Krishna is reciprocated. So, Prabhupada has given an example of ISKCON, how it is giving a chance to humanity at large. So, one should accept this opportunity to return home back to God very enthusiastic. There is Utsaha. Enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. So, Utsaha is needed in every part. So one has to be enthusiastic in any particular activity. One is doing businessman, student, anything. One has to be very much enthusiasm. Without enthusiasm, one cannot do devotional service. And then endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna is called utsaha, enthusiasm. So what is utsaha means? That endeavor is done with intelligence. So one does some endeavor and then it is done with intelligence. That is called utsaha or enthusiasm. And the Lord devotees find the correct meaning by which they can everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. So this is how utsaha can be. And then utsaha, then comes determination, the nishchay. And then after utsaha, that is nishchay comes, and utsaha, and then dharya means patience. So that activities must be executed with patience, but do not be impatient Krishna consciousness. So that is after doing a devotion, we should not think that within 1 month, 2 months, one should get reciprocation. No, very, very patient. So utsaha means doing things enthusiastic, then nishchay, that one will continue. And then after continuing to do for so many years, patient, that no, today I have not got the result, maybe tomorrow, maybe after 1 year, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, I will get result. One should be very patient. One should not be impatient. Otherwise, one will not get result. So successful execution of Krishna consciousness requires both patience and confidence. A newly married girl naturally expects offering from her husband, but she cannot expect to have him immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she gets married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop in and born in due time. So one has to wait at least for 9 months to get, and similarly, one has to wait in Krishna consciousness for some time to get the result. And then one should not be idle, but should be enthusiastic about executing the regular principles. Tat tat karma pravanan. So neglect of the regular principles will destroy devotion service. And therefore, one should follow the regulative principles very, very, very nicely. And what are they? 4 regulations. So forbidding of illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxicant. So these 4 things are actually destroying the whole human civilization. If you see now today's world, there are majority of diverse cases. So one of the major problem because of this, it is extramarital affairs. So if this is stopped now, so many family will live in happiness. Second is meat eating. This is also one of the biggest problem. Because of this, so many bad elements are happening. Because if we trouble animals who cannot speak, then naturally we also go through trouble, and therefore this so many people are dying in air crash, or so many people are dying at an earthquake and all. So what does it is? What is their karma which they get because of doing some wrong activities? So when they get karma, actually we should understand that we should not tell them, but we should be very much uh, empathetic towards them, but at the same time should understand that nobody suffers if they have not done wrong. So some wrong karma they have done because they are suffering. And again, gambling, we know because of this one person earns, but so many families are destroyed. And same with intoxication. So many people are destroyed, their health is destroyed, their money is destroyed because of this all things. So if these 4 things are stopped now, at least people will come to a general level of sanity. And then a devotee should be enthusiastic to follow all these principles. He should not become slack. Therefore, it recommends tat tat karma. One should strictly follow the regulative principle of Vaidhi Bhakti. And this 4 related. And then yam and niyama. So there are positive niyama also is daily chanting of 16 rounds. Then this should be followed. So this is called tat tat karma prana. And then furthermore, in order to be successful, one has to give up the association of non-devotees. So this is also important that one should not associate with non-devotees. So this, if we want to go advance in devotion service, then this is one of the most, then this asat sanga tyag Vaishnava achar. So one should give up the association of non-devotees. So this is very important thing. And the last thing is to follow the footsteps of the previous acharyas, which one should they. Therefore, it says Tandera Charan Sai Bhakta Sena, one has to live in the company of pure and execute the devotional service laid down by the previous acharyas. So one has to follow the footsteps of previous acharyas, namely Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jeev Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So if this is done, if one lives in association of devotees, there's little chance of association with non-devotees, and therefore this should be done. So 6 things are helpful in executing our devotion service. That is what we also being enthusiastic, then enduring confidence, being patient, acting in according to regulatory principles, then abandoning association of non-devotees and following the footsteps of Acharya. And then further Prabhupada explains here how one never falls down in devotional ways. So my devotee never perishes. Sneha become nasosi pratyavayana vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayan. So one can come out of this greatest calamity if one does a little bhakti. So then fourth verse is how devotees exchange things with each other. So this is given how the relation between devotees develop. So we should associate with devotees was given the third verse. So how to associate with devotees is given this fourth verse. Dadati pratigrinati guhyamakhyati pritchati bhungte bhojayate chaiva sadvidim priti lakshanam. So offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, acquiring confidentially, accepting prasada, and offering prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So, these are 6 principles which are explained in this verse. First, there are 6 varieties. Giving charity to the devotees. So, one should give charity to the devotees. And there are gifts we give, like somebody comes, we give some book, we give some frame, and we give like this. We give so many things to devotees. And then accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. So the devotees also reciprocate. They also give, like suppose somebody gives some donation to a temple. So what does temple do? The temple will give some garland. The temple will give some photo, some mahaprasad. So then accepting whatever is given to in return. So this one, and opening one's mind to the devotees. So this is the way how to advance. So one should open the mind that, oh, I am following this, but it is not happening, or I want to follow this, or I want to chant extra rounds. So what is the way you do? So in this way, one can inquire confidently how to advance in devotionalism. And then what happens is opening the one mind and inquire from them about confident service of Lord. So how can I progress in devotional ways? How can I do this? So this is how the new people they inquire and the advanced devotee answers. Then honoring prasad or spiritual food given by the devotees and feeding the devotees with prasad. So honoring prasad is one of the important activity in devotional service. So one should daily cook, offer it to Lord, and then eat prasad only. This is very important if one wants to progress in devotional service. And then feeding the devotees. So we call devotees and then feed. So most of the times we see that grasta devotees, they call other devotees. Sometimes they call brahmachari sannyasi to house and they feed devotees. Similarly, the temple call all the devotees, and on the Sunday feast they also feed. So this way, when these things are done, then the relationship between the devotees develop, and in this way one progresses. So an experienced devotee explains and an inexperienced devotee learns from. This is called guhyam akhyate prichati. So a new devotee asks what should be done, what should not be done. So an experienced devotee explains, oh, this is how you should do, this is how you should. So this is called guhyam akhyate prichati. So when a devotee distributes prasad, remnants of food offered Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotion, we must accept this prasada as the Lord's grace received to the pure devotees. We should always invite pure devotees at our home. We should also invite pure devotees in our home, offer them prasad, and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called bhungte bhojayate chaiva. So it's a very important aspect. By this, what happens is our home get purified, the vibrations come, and a lot of things happen. And we have seen so many times that one person is practicing, others are not practicing, and they are being troubled by other family members and all. But when some devotee comes to the house, that is cleared, and then the whole family starts devotion service, or at least they do not oppose the person who is practicing. In this way, things get cleared. So here Prabhupada explains that ordinary dealings also these things these six things are done. So every businessman, he calls another business to a hotel, gives them feast, and tells them that this is what I want to do. What is your opinion? So like this, they exchange their things, and then for departing, he gives them gift, pleasantries, and all. So this way, everybody does, and therefore this should be done for Krishna consciousness also. And this way, one can progress faster. And then Prabhupada is given how he started Krishna single-handedly, and then people started coming, they started giving something for some gift and all, and also accepted whatever Prabhupada gave return to them. And this way it expanded all over the world. And then they hold festivals and distributed prasada and lot of things they did. And in that, when one comes, one inquires confidently that how should I progress in devotion service, and then the devotees say what needs to be done. And this way, this is progress. So this very good verse. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhe Kabunaya Shavanadi Shuddha Chitta Karaya Udaya. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing chant, the living entity naturally awakens. So this pure love of Krishna is always there in our heart. It is not that something which comes from outside. It is not that we gain. It is like, suppose there is a mirror. So mirror, we can see our face, but now because it is dirty, it is the layer of dirt is there, we cannot see. But as soon as we remove the dirt, we clean the dirt, what happens? We can see our face very easily. Similarly, Krishna consciousness is always there in our heart. We just need to remove the upper layers by chanting and hearing. If we remove that, what happens? The natural Krishna consciousness awakens. And this is done by Shravanam Kirtanam, this we have seen. And here Sishashakam says how Chetu Darpanam Mahajanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitanam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnam Ristas Aswadam Sarvatma Snaparam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankinam. So all glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust, of all the dust accumulated for the years, and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendent knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendent bliss, and it enables to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. So there are so many things it is written. First is it cleanses the heart, this Chetodapana. The accumulated dust for years. And second is actually the fire of conscious life. So we are always worried, we are always unhappy because of repeated birth and death. So it extinguishes that fire. So no again birth, no death. And it is prime benediction for humanity at large. And so very much benefit, and it spreads the rays of benediction moon. So like the moon, if we see in India, it's cooling. May not be in some countries, but in India, if we see, it's very cooling. So after the hot day, we think that if the moon cools are there, we'll be very happy. So that is how the holy name is. It is very cooling, and it is the life of all transcendent knowledge. So all transcendent knowledge should culminate into chanting of the holy names, and it increases the ocean of transcendental bliss. So the bliss, the ananda, while chanting always increases more and more. And then it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which always anxious. So it helps us to taste the nectar of devotional service for which we are always anxious. Not only the chant of Mahamantra purified, but the heart of anyone who happens to hear the translation of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, all is also cleansed. So anybody who is chanting, he's also cleansed, and who hears also, he's also cleansed. Even the souls embodying lower elements, insect, trees, and other species of life also become purified and prepared to become fully Krishna conscious simply by hearing the transcendental vibration. So they also are helped, and they also become prepared to fully conscious. Next life, they may get a human birth where they can practice devotion service. Uh, so their evolution processes been decreased and they get human birth very fast when they hear this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this is very good thing. And therefore, this is explained by Haridas Thakur when Chaitanya inquired how entities lower than human beings can be delivered. And therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that when the loud chanting of Hari Ram is going on, so it can, if one, it can help all the people in all the parts, remote parts of the jungle, trees, animals to also advance. So this was actually proved by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in the forest of Jharkhand. So this is one of the chapter comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to the forest and all the animals, tigers, snakes, deers, whoever hears the holy name, they also chant in abandon and they also do Nam Sankirtan. So very wonderful thing happens. So of course we cannot imitate activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we should follow in his footsteps. So we cannot make tigers dance, we cannot make them chant Hare Krishna, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can. So we should always follow his footsteps. At least we can make people do some devotional service. So one should inquire about Krishna conscious movement and open his mind in order to understand the situation of this material world. This is called Guhyam Akhyati Prichati. So opening mind and hearing them. So members are spreading all over the world. They're opening different centers, doing Sunday feast and all. And people come to honor prasad, and then sometimes they invite members to their homes and feed them spirituously with prasad. So both ways, member and society are benefited. So people should give up the company of so-called yogis, gyanis, karmis, and philanthropists because the association can benefit no one. So again, we should have good association if we want to progress. So the supreme dharma for all humanity is that man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. So when we do devotional service, it should be ahetuki and apratiyata. So ahetuki means there should not be motive that I want this or this, otherwise we will not be satisfied. And uninterrupted means it should be continuous, not that we do today, not do tomorrow. It should be done every day. Then we will progress in devotional and we will be satisfied also. So if the members of human society actually want peace of mind, tranquility, and friendly relationship between men and nations, they must follow Krishna conscious system of religion by which they can develop that dormant love for Krishna Supreme Personality of God. As soon as people do this, their minds will immediately be filled with peace and tranquility. So again, Sri Bhakti-Sangha also explains this verse that one should not hear from these people. So it is like if the milk is very healthy, but if it's touched by a snake, then it becomes very poisonous, and that should not be heard. So the scriptures are very good, but when you heard from Mayavadis or Kamis, it is not good for us. So conclusion is that we should always keep company of devotees, observe regulated principles, follow the footsteps of acharyas, and being obedient. And this way, we should do devotional service. And this way, we should inquire, we should accept prasadam, give prasadam charity, and this way we'll progress. So, I think thank you very much. We shall